Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to our episode 2. This is our second out of 4 episodes. I can't believe we made it this far already. Thanks for everyone who's been tuning in. This is our live writing workshop with Medina, Whiteman, and Ibrahim. Our topic for the week is embracing life, especially the temporal of life. And we came up with this topic from the chapter Purification of the Heart, and the chapter is titled Fear of Death. So today we're going to spend some time exploring the fear of death and making peace with it with our two beautiful writers. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
So
Great to be here.
So do you guys, this is funny, the day we're shooting this episode, like it's actually not funny. It's a coincidence that there's actually, I've heard about 4 or 5 deaths in the last 48 hours. It's such a coincidence that we are at this place right now talking about this topic. It's so timely.
Yeah. I feel like it's been months where death is very present for a lot of people. I don't know about anybody else, but especially at the beginning of the lockdown here in Spain, we had a very long lockdown and terrible figures. For a while, Spain was leading the world. It's horrible thing to be leading in, but in coronavirus cases and death.
Yeah.
And so every day we just be looking at the statistics and watching the graphs changing and be constantly reckoning with death all the time and thinking about how am I contributing to it. If I go and visit my parents, they're older, am I going to be in a risk? It starts bringing it brought up a lot of fear, a lot of fear, sure.
Yeah. Even just some conversations I've been having casual conversations with friends, a lot of the discussions end up being focused around how we've lost certain people in our life, people very close to us, and then how we just spend our entire life coping with that, whether it's a mother, father, sibling, best friend. So it's very interesting. And also just how we have these small deaths in our life all the time of either ourselves or people we know. Super interesting and kind of scary and also kind of sad, but again, you can shift that mindset and see it as a way to embrace your life.
Right.
Yeah. And, Medina, echoing off of what you're saying, now we're in the epicenter. The United States is leading.
Yeah.
But I'm in Houston, Texas, which is #1 in the world. Right now, the whole world's eyes is in my city. I have so many family members who are currently dealing with coronavirus. I'm actually showing a few symptoms myself, but it's almost impossible to get a test right now. So we're just drinking our tea, drinking our herbs. I don't know. It's been, death is definitely something that is a very scary topic and it's hard to beautify. So I'm really excited that we're jumping into it. I know that you were talking, Medina, about Imam Ghazali's poem that he left under his pillow. We would love to hear it.
Yeah. I'm going to bring it up right now. So this was supposedly written on a piece of paper and they found it underneath his pillow or on top of him. I'm not sure. And it goes like this. Say to my friends when they look on me dead, weeping for me and mourning me in sorrow, do not believe that this corpse you see is myself. In the name of God, I tell you, it is not I. I am a spirit, and this is naught but flesh. It was my abode and my garment for a time. I am a treasure by a talisman kept hid, fashioned of dust, which served me as a shrine. I am a pearl which has left its shell deserted. I am a bird, and this body was my cage, whence I have now flown forth, and it is left as a token. Praise to God who hath now set me free, and prepared for me my place in the highest of the heavens. Until today I was dead, though alive in your midst. Now I live in truth, with the grave clothes discarded. Today I hold converse with the saints above, with no veil between. I see God face to face. I look upon Lawh Mahfuz, and therein I read whatever was and all that is to be. Let my house fall in ruins, lay my cage in the ground. Cast away the talisman, it is a token no more. Lay aside my cloak, it was but my outer garment. Place them all in the grave, let them be forgotten. I have passed on my way, and you are left behind. Your place of abode is no dwelling place for me. Think not that death is death, nay, it is life. A life that surpasses all we could dream of here. While in this world, here we are granted sleep. Death is but sleep, sleep that shall be prolonged. Be not frightened when death draweth near. It is but the departure for this blessed home. Think of the mercy and love of your Lord. Give thanks for his grace and come without fear. What I am now, even so shall you be. For I know that you are even as I am. The souls of all men come forth from God. The bodies of all are compounded alike. Good and evil, alike it was ours. I give you now a message of good cheer. May God's peace and joy forevermore be yours. Amen.
Wow.
So there's so much in there that can be unpacked.
That's a heavy poem. But
It is. It's light as well at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It immediately makes me think about how Imam Ghazali kind of reshaped his view of death, you know? He was able to beautify it, which is, like Amna was saying, a very, very difficult thing to do when it comes to something like that. And I'm so impressed by that.
Yeah.
Well, he was the master of, one of many masters of recognizing the pearl inside and not necessarily. I mean, the shell can be beautiful as well. I mean, that's it. The clothes don't have to. It's not that the clothes are completely worthless, but compared to what they have inside them, they are very worthless. It's like you have a jug of water and you're thirsty. You don't care about the jug. You just want the water inside it. That's what's important to you at that time. So yeah, that's what this person. I guess that's what approaching death does. And this is why. I mean, I don't know if this is a hadith or where I've heard this from, but dhikrul maut, dhikrullah. Like remembrance of death is remembrance of God, because it's just reminding yourself and making yourself conscious again, because it's so easy to forget. But just conscious of the fact that what we believe is going to go on forever is just going to be gone in a flash, and it'll feel like
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful. I think he, in many ways, gave others the permission. Like for me, I took away, he gave me permission to die without fear. And that was my biggest takeaway. What's really interesting, Medina, I think you mentioned that they found this under his pillow when he had passed away.
Yeah, I think he must have written it before he died, and just knowing that he was about to go, and just being in complete peace with that. And it's really interesting. I actually have several friends who are death doulas. So you know what a birth doula is, right? A doula is it's like a servant, somebody who's attendant. You know, she I guess, or he is attending a birthing woman, a birthing person, and so a death doula does the same thing, but for a person who's on the other end of the sort of on the other threshold, and is leaving this world, and so so they see all of the things that we're talking about today, all the things that we're going to be looking at, all of the fears emerging, but also when people have made peace with those fears, there's an incredible peace. Yesterday actually was the anniversary of a dear friend of mine's passing. She was a choir master. She was called Radha, Mulla. She inspired many people. She got so many people together to sing in harmonies, and she got cancer at a very young age. She had a young child, a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old also. So it was just the worst thing that we could imagine at all. So scary, and it progressed very fast. So she passed away. But I mean, the people who were with her, the friends who were supporting her through that process, they talked about this incredible peace in that space. And even afterwards, people would go and visit, and it was like one friend actually said it was like going to visit the house of a sheikh or like of a saint,
Yeah.
or like the tomb of a saint. Like there's an incredible stillness and peace there.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives me like goosebumps actually just thinking about it.
Yeah.
You're reminding me of what people
We're aiming for.
you're reminding me of what people say about Ustad Osama Cannon when we see him in at Talif or people have seen him around. They say there was this incredible amount of peace around him. Like it was just like you could tell that he had made peace with his sort of ending. And so I think that like there's a lot of other people that you'll watch that Allah sometimes blesses us to let us be witness to an ending of someone knowing their ending in public. And if you witness their being and the way they're sitting and the way they're talking, there's an incredible amount of peace or some sort of, I guess, rationalization that occurs. And Berka Blue and Micah Anderson were doing an episode on Thursday, and they were giving like certain ideas. So there's this concept that like you sit down and you think about what does death look like to you? What will death feel like to you? You sit down and do these meditations and exercises so that when death comes, it's not unfamiliar. It's something that you're familiar with. So yeah, I thought that was one of my key takeaways from the programming that we've had so far on Race Karma.
Yeah. That's profound, mashallah. I have a question for you guys about this fear of death. What do you think it takes for someone to not have the fear of death?
Ooh, good question. I want to know too. I guess trust, just having that complete trust. It's like, babies when they're first born, when they haven't ever fallen before, they have no fear of falling. So like that's why they love to be thrown in the air, because they have no awareness of hitting the ground, because they've been in anti-gravity, in a womb. You have no pain. There's no pain. Like it's like an earthly paradise.
You can.
And I guess to have that sort of security of feeling like I'm just in really good hands here.
Yeah. You remind me of the story of my birth with my daughter Alia. Yeah. So for me, I went into labor, and towards the end, I mean, I had been like 15 hours at this point. I felt like, I don't know. So I had the baby at home. I had her in I had a birth doula. I had a midwife. I did the whole traditional route, in the water. So I was sitting in the water pool, the birth pool, and it was towards the end of my labor where my contractions stopped. And I guess I was at this transition point where the baby was about to come. Anyways, all of a sudden I feel like I can see behind me, or I can feel this energy behind me. And there's this like really dark matter that goes around, right? And comes right in front of me and starts coming towards me. Now, obviously, this happened really fast. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, these like hormones in my body are really crazy. I haven't taken any medication. Then the other part of me is like, Amna, that is the angel of death coming for you. You are going. And so I look at my mom and my husband, and literally like I look at them like this, and my eyes just said it all. I was just saying goodbye. And the only other thing in my heart would be say la ilaha illallah. Just say la ilaha illallah. Just say it. But I'm like, wow, it's too hard. I'm in too much pain. And I was like, I can just say Allah. That's it. That's all I need. All I need to do is just start saying the word Allah. That's all I need. And as I was saying it, I guess my midwife saw what this like state I was going into. But as I was saying it, at the same time, the matter just like was coming towards me, and then it just turned around and left. Like it like disappeared. And then I looked down, my midwife looked straight me in the eyes, and she goes, "You're not leaving us. I know exactly what's going through your mind." And I was like, "What? How did you know?" She's like the best midwife ever. She knew everything happening in my mind. And the next thing you know, I feel the baby pushing out, like I feel her head. And it was just like, I genuinely, in that moment, felt like I was about to die. And I don't think I've ever come so close to death before. I mean, it felt very real, and it felt like, they say like, may Allah grant you, or may God grant you the death that you want. And like, we're like, yeah, of course I'm going to be saying whatever I'm going to be saying this, or I'm going to be feeling this at death. But sometimes like, it's actually really hard because you're confused. And so like having that fear of death, you're sacrificing potentially dying in the way that you want because you're so afraid about what the next step is.
Yeah.
Pain is very confusing in that as well, because then and you know, birth is like the classic example. Especially if you're somebody who's had a baby, that experience of giving birth, it's like the pain of it. I mean, for me, I also actually had a water birth at home, so snap. Amna.
I didn't know that.
I had 3 though. Yeah.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah, I was so fortunate to have that. It's a real privilege. But I had many of those kinds of moments as well, like, because I've had a lot of kind of extended pre-labors that sort of like went off and then kind of went on again. So yeah, went on for a long time. But the thing that I really felt, in my second birth with my daughter, I really didn't want to be left alone. That was the thing that I feared. And then my midwife came, and it was in the middle of the night. My then husband went off with our son to put him to bed, and he kept waking up. We'd had lentils, so everyone was like really gassy and no one could sleep. so everyone just kept disappearing and leaving me alone. But you know what was really amazing? I was in this birth pool by myself for hours and hours, laboring, and I swear I felt I had angel midwives.
Wow.
And felt completely protected and safe and held. And then afterwards, in fact, my midwife said that afterwards, when I told her, she said, you know, every time I come to a birth, I ask my angels. She called on her friend, who was called Rose, from where she lived, who had died quite young, and she called on her husband, who had died as well quite young. And weirdly, then we called our daughter Rosa. But that was one of the many weird connections to that name. But yeah, so it was subhanAllah. I guess that's one of those moments we kind of think, okay, the pain is very, very brief and it's very intense. But because of that intensity, afterwards you have this flood of endorphins. Like, and that's just on a biological level. Like they say that there's never any greater quantity of endorphins in any human being than in the bloodstream of a mother and a baby right after a natural birth.
Yeah.
And that's because of the pain. The pain has actually brought that. So if I kind of remind myself of this, you know, for death, like, or any kind of really, really awful experience, you know, the pain is very intense, but it's usually just temporary. And then something comes afterwards, you know, which is really blissful. So inshallah, you know, that's will be for all
Please
of us.
tell me you've written poetry about your birth.
Huh?
Have you written poetry about the birth?
Yeah, actually, I have written a couple of poems about birth in my first book.
Nice.
I
That's
could
beautiful.
read them for you.
So I think we should get into our prompts. Who is going to introduce the first prompt?
So the first prompt is for us to kind of visualize that as a being. So it can be any type of creature. It could be an imaginary creature. It could be an actual human. It could be someone we know. That would be very dark, but any type of being, any type of creature. So let's get started with that.
Okay. How many minutes do we want to do for this? Like 3 minutes?
Let's do like about 4 minutes.
Okay. I'm gonna mute my phone because my keyboard's really noisy.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Good. You mute me? Okay, you mute me. Great. Bismillah.
Okay, I have a question, Amna. So, before we start.
Yeah, what's up?
Barbara wants to ask about a painless death. So maybe we can touch on that later. We'll call you.
Barbara wants to do what?
Ask about a painless death. So we'll call you after. He's told me like twice to mention it. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, if everyone doesn't know, Barbara is Irum's husband, and he's going to be on Race Karma in week 4, so look out for him. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Amna.
I think we said 4 minutes. Okay.
I've been 4 minutes. I turned the light on. Thanks a lot, Amna.
Good. The bloopers are what make things interesting. Do you want to read yours first, Irum?
Sure. So I actually struggled with this one today. I'm gonna go ahead and read it. Okay. A huge gray cloud overcame me as I sat on the chair on my balcony. I looked up at it and thought, I wonder if it is about to rain. While looking up, I noticed that my thoughts began to race. The cloud was getting bigger and bigger, thunder and lightning was striking, but everyone else around my balcony seemed to be going on with their life as usual, running around underneath the blazing sun. Kids playing with the sprinklers, lots of laughter. It was as if they didn't even notice the big, heavy cloud. I looked back up at the cloud and it began to rain immediately. Heavy rain that felt almost like hail on my hands and arms. So I stopped there. I wasn't able to finish, but the cloud was actually the thing that was death in the piece.
Was it death or your fear of death?
The fear of death. Wait. Yeah.
So then what was the rate? What was the hail?
Maybe I didn't even know what I was doing. I feel like I was figuring it out as I was writing.
That's what's so great about writing, I think. So often you just write, you have no idea what it means, and then you read it back, or somebody else reads it, and they go, "Oh yeah, look, that's what it means."
Exactly.
Like I didn't even realize.
And your question just did that for me because you're right. Like I started writing, and I thought this cloud is going, this gray heavy cloud, like clouds that overcome us. I wanted that to be actually death, or an example of death. But then your question also made me realize that what was the rain then? You know, was it the rain that actually was that example, or was it really the cloud? And was it the fear of death that was the cloud, and then rain being death itself?
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't got any answers. Okay, I'm going to read my one. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a long time. Because we've got another prompt to do in two parts as well. So this is what I came up with for this prompt. Death is the voice that wakes me up in the night. Sounds like a rushing stream under my house, carrying detritus or full of milk. It sits on the edge of my bed, speaks without needing to form words. Every atom of me knows what it is here for, but it is patient. It doesn't steal. Death has no jewel's teeth. Death is no jewel thief, only a messenger whose presence awakens. No screaming of horror movie actors, fake blood in a cup under the scenery. Death sidles through streets unnoticed, casts lugubrious glances at people passing and ignoring, throws a pebble in a river, and the ripples reach every bone in every body of every being ever birthed, ever hatched. This is only the breaking of another shell when we outgrow our nests.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think I'll maybe go through it and break it up in some way. But yeah, it's kind of quite interesting to be able to write a poem in 5 minutes, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least the first draft.
Yeah, I mean, your first drafts seem like final drafts to me. My first drafts are extremely raw.
I don't
It's
think there's
really interesting to see the difference.
I don't think there's anything wrong. So I think
Either way, both
in
bits work.
in that way what I wrote, um I guess I kind of just ran with it because I don't know if you guys know, but on the screen the prompt said itemize your fear of death. So it was pretty much like, what is your fear and describe your fear. So that's what the prompt I saw as. So I kind of ran within an interesting direction. So let me read you what I wrote. The blood is running from my mouth. I lay there by myself. The smell of metal is down my throat. I see nothing. It's dark, and I am left in it as the shining beam of light. I sit there with words on my tongue. La ilaha illallah. The moment in my life that flashes everything, all starts to make sense. My life is complete according to Allah. He is the best of planners, and whatever I leave behind is now done. The pain is sweet. It's burst in red and black colors till I see myself clean. When the adhan ends and they say, Allahu Akbar. Now I'm reunited in the river with the sage and sitting on my leaf with beautiful smells, sights, and peace. I taste it in my mouth. The water is so clear. I knew this was home before I even reached here.
Wow, that's amazing. It's so sensual. And like we were saying before about the how you can start with a poem and you don't even realize that did you even notice that you had the taste thing at the beginning and at the
No,
end?
I didn't.
Yeah, you did that.
Begins with the blood in your mouth and it ends with the kind of fresh
Oh,
water.
wow. I didn't notice that. It's
Yeah.
funny how these
And
prompts can just create that naturally.
it jogs things. It's just a jog. That's all it is. It's so interesting how something so simple, you think, oh, come on, do I really need this? Like I could just sit down and write. But actually, just a question just makes you kind of think, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just takes you in a direction.
But Medina, you know what I realized? Iram, I don't know if you remember, but last episode I told Medina, oh, I love how you use taste and sight and senses in your poetry. And it was literally naturally there. And I'm like, oh, well, Medina, look, I'm learning. I'm learning. Maybe I'll pick up one of Iram's skills this week for next week.
The workshops are working. They're doing their magic.
That was beautiful. So should we move on to our second prompt?
Yeah. Let's go to the next prompt. So my prompt was kind of a two-part prompt. And the first part of it was to itemize the fears, specific fears that you have around death. So for people, it might be, for example, it might be fear of pain, it might be fear of having some kind of degenerative illness, it might be the fear of leaving people behind or the sort of suffering of others if you pass away, incurring sadness, or fear of not having done enough in your life. I mean, for example, there are so many possible aspects of fear. Fear of death. And I read somewhere that fear of death is the root of all fears. And so it's kind of like, you know, if you can get to the source of that, then it'll hopefully maybe unlock lots of other fears that you have in your life. So, for example, fear of any kind of loss, any kind of, you know, something being taken away from you, like even if it's like a job or a thing, an object that breaks, a beloved piece of jewelry that goes missing or something like that, you know, it's all kind of tied into much deeper subconscious fears that we have. So the first part of this prompt is to itemize those, like write a list and then feel which one jumps out at you the most. there'll be one that really grabs you. And then I want you to find a creative way to make peace with that fear. And I'll leave it up to you how that looks or feels, what ends up being. Yeah. So
how many minutes do we have for this one?
I guess we could do like 2 or 3 minutes to write the list, and then maybe do we have another 5 minutes, Amna, to write upwards? Okay.
We can do a total of five, probably like 6 minutes for every single. I mean, 3 minutes to write your list and 3 minutes to make peace with it.
Yeah.
Or maybe let's do 2 minutes to write the list, and then 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I think
Sure.
yeah.
No problem.
Restriction is actually good.
Insert music here.
Yeah, music. Where's Destiny Muhammad when you need her?
I know, Destiny. Hi. We know you're probably online cheering us on.
Right.
She's live on Sunday, guys. Support her.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to itemize our fears now. Can you mute me? I'm not, because I'll make a racket with my
I
keyboard.
thought the keyboard was part of the, feel, but we'll put in some music and mute you.
It's almost like a kind of a vintage typewriter kind of sound.
I know, that's why I like it. It's like ASMR.
I'm sure it must be distracting someone though. Okay, so here we go.
Hey guys, I'm done too. So you guys did the list. Have you made peace? Have you made peace with the fear yet?
No.
Still thinking which one to do. Oh, so hard to choose. They're all pretty awful.
Yeah.
Do you want to read your list, Irum?
Yeah. Okay. So my first one is pain. Then loved ones I will leave behind. All that I have not accomplished in this life. Not doing enough good or good deeds. People I have wronged in this world. Bad decisions or decisions I will regret in the hereafter. Sins that were not forgiven or that I did not / that I did not repent for. And then that was it. What about yours? I'd love to hear it.
So weirdly, the first one that came to me was fear of losing my physical abilities, especially my hands.
Oh, wow.
I do so much with my hands, and occasionally I kind of go, wow, what if I, God forbid, had like a motor neuron disease or something that like no longer I couldn't be. So then that segued into my second fear, which is becoming a burden on others. Like that's not so much, I guess, death. It's like the stages leading up to death. Fear of being alone in the last stages of death. I mean, as I was writing that, I was like remembering what I was just talking about, being in birth and like fear of being alone. Well, I've been alone in labor, and actually it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Fear of being unsupported in difficulties, like in those last moments when things are really, really tough.
Yeah.
Not having and I'm thinking of all these people who have COVID, and their families can't touch them and they can't be with them, and that's just so awful. I find that so sad.
Mm-hmm.
And fear of the constriction of my chest, the inability to breathe. I think that's the one I'm going to focus on, because that's quite a wow. Fear of being afraid and confused in the last moments before I die. Fear of not having been conscious of in life and regretting that in my last moments.
Mm-hmm.
And fear of my children being orphaned, like fear for my children and their grief,
Yeah.
which is also huge for me. Okay, so we've got 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Right, let's focus. Aziz. Okay. So, should I read first this time? For a change. So I chose the one about breathing, which it was very hard to focus on, so I kind of ended up on a little bit of a tangent, but anyway, so this is what I came up with. I slow my breathing down to the slowest, most oceanic waves. But the tide has always come in again. Send it out, it comes curling back, as long as Earth spins. But we are short-lived planets. Our orbits so much narrower. Our gravity so powerful, it keeps us clinging to ourselves, even when there is nothing left to cling to. The sages have all found ways to self-implode. Supernovas in an endless sky.
That was so beautiful.
I like it even though doesn't quite answer the question. So maybe I need to review my resistance. Because obviously talking about something like this is, there's like all kinds of barriers that come up. Like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about I'm not breathing anymore.
Yeah, no one does. I was reading the book and it was saying fear of death is one of those diseases. Like even the word, every time you use the word death, most people get annoyed. Like people will drop off of the stream because we keep using the word death. So congratulations to those of you who are going through this practice. It's hard.
Well done. You get a badge.
But it's
at least trying. Just that's it. Paying attention. Just choosing to place your attention here rather than letting it be dispersed in a million other ways is already so huge. That's what creative writing does. It's just focusing your attention, bring it in, hone it like a beam of light, and then whatever you see inside that light is going to be lit up in this incredibly, clear detail and hopefully meaningful. So, Irum or Amna, like to share what you wrote?
Aaron's muted.
Oh, that's so bad.
No, it's all good. It's a live stream.
Because I was like commenting back to what Medina was saying, but
oh no, we lost
you were just quiet.
No,
we're like, Aaron doesn't have anything to say.
Sorry about that, guys. I was just saying, I'm gonna go ahead because I feel like you always go last.
Oh, but it's your live writing workshop. I'm just the person in the corner here writing.
You're so interesting. Go ahead. I want to hear yours first.
I was kind of all over the place, to be honest, but this one's a hard one, and it's like I feel so.
It's hard.
And I mean, to be fair, I'm not feeling well, but okay, bismillah. I fear leaving my mom, my daughter, my husband, and the work I have yet to do. I fear missing the sun or kissing the kids. I fear I'll grow out of who I am and be my worst self when the time comes. I fear that the man that is following me will stab me and all will be gone because he does not fear. My fears are not rational, but they are my fears. I accept them and celebrate them, whatever they bring. Now, like a guest, I ask you to leave. Peace, my friend, I ask you to be here.
Whoa.
I drew inspiration from Rumi. On the last part, it just came to me.
That's amazing. But then you really did it. You really did find a way to make peace there because you wished them peace. You wished your fear peace.
And for me, I think Rumi has a big impact on emotions. When I was pregnant, I was having a lot of panic attacks. And I started going to therapy. And part of going to therapy, my therapist started talking, but I just happened to also fall into Rumi's poetry about emotions being a guest and just acknowledge them, say hi, welcome them like you would welcome a guest. And like any good guest, ask them to leave and welcome the next guest. But don't shut them out. And that's what my therapist kept telling me. And then when I read that poetry, my therapy started making sense. Because I tend to ignore my emotions. That's how I deal with things. So I don't know. I feel like I drew because I guess it really does still impact me.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah.
So I kind of shifted my topic as well. I wanted to focus on people I had wronged in this world, but it kind of became about some other stuff as well. So here it goes. As I enter my grave, it feels constricted. My limbs crumbled, muscles tight, chest. Sorry, my husband is just shocked at what I'm talking about.
Crumbled? That's a very powerful image.
Okay, so as I enter my grave, it feels constricted. My limbs crumbled, muscles tight, chest in absolute pain. I feel like I can't breathe. The angels in my grave are frowning, reprimanding me for all the sins I've committed in the dunya. I'm reminded of those I wronged while living in this world, those I never asked forgiveness from, and those who God felt so much love for. I had to stop it there. That's all I got in 4 minutes. But the reason also, just so you guys aren't confused, my husband and I have been talking a lot about a painless death, and it's something he questions a lot, and it's something that we all should, I believe, make dua for, right? We should pray for. And for people who do have this fear of death, all of us, I feel, most of us at least, have this fear of death, and a lot of it has to do with pain. And that's completely okay to ask for a painless death.
I don't know why I'm emotional about your poetry being about pain. Like I can't I don't know if you guys can't see, but I feel very emotional about it. Like I have a very emotional response to what you just wrote.
Yeah, it's very vivid. The whole image of your body decomposing in the grave, that's really big, you know. I think that's why a lot of people want to be cremated instead. But in a way, I kind of feel like I would rather be buried under a tree, you know, just feel like I'm kind of growing into the earth rather than it being like a decomposition. But yeah, that is basically what's happening. As your limbs crumble. That's a really like exact description. It's like, wow, we think they're going to be here forever.
It reminds me of, you know, this whole idea of when we write things that are difficult to write. I feel that it's the best writing that you do, because it's the stuff that you've been bottling in for so long, or the things that you truly are most afraid of.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know?
It's very alive, and actually that's something somebody said that to me when I was really struggling writing my book, my most recent book, The Invisible Muslim. She said that a writer friend told her the best advice was write towards the pain, like write towards the difficulty. So don't edge around it, because you're not going to produce powerful writing. Like actually just go straight into it. And actually I think Imam Ali says as well, like, I'm just paraphrasing here, but the difficulties of whatever it is that you fear, the fear itself is not going to be greater or lesser than the thing itself. So you may as well just dive into it, or something. I'm misquoting it, but it's like whenever you fear something, you know, actually the fear itself can be greater. So you may as well just do it. Like there's no point kind of being stuck on that, you know.
Yeah. I completely understand that.
So guys, our time is ending here. We're probably gonna have to cut some of this off. So we're at 15 minutes.
I love the discussion. I'm like really inspired right now. I think I'm gonna write some more right after this.
So I have one important question for you, Irum.
Yeah.
How are you going to make peace with your fear?
That's a great question. Well, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind, honestly, is writing. For me, my writing is more of my style is more of journaling.
Mm-hmm.
So I just literally write about why I'm afraid of this thing. I feel like that will actually help me understand the answer to your question. I don't know right now. I don't know how to make peace with it. I think I would have to really understand through writing why I'm even thinking, like, why do I think this way about death? Why, like, what? I don't think it's about death. I think it's about how I feel about myself. I think it's this like underlying fear of inadequacy, kind of, or this like feeling that, you know, like hopelessness, kind of, you know. And I think that just based on like right now how I feel like there's this level of not having enough hope and faith in Allah's mercy. And I think the only way to really make peace with this whole concept of this whole fear actually is to really remind yourself that Allah is most merciful. That, you know, everything is accounted for, all of your deeds, you know, and Allah will surely turn the bad deeds into good deeds. I don't know if you guys know the story of like the pile of bad deeds that are transformed into good deeds.
Oh.
I'll have to share it next time.
Yes. We have to share it next time. Unfortunately, we've once again ran out of time. So
You're muted.
oh, I am? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I'm just letting some time pass so it's easy for them to cut because they're gonna have to cut this part in. Well, guys, that was very powerful exercise. I'm breathing a lot because I feel like I need to go back and write a lot too. I know Irum mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I'm gonna carry on as well.
Yeah.
But
So my husband wants to say, Bobber, we're running out of time.
no, yeah, Bobber, come say hi to our show. You can be our special guest appearance.
Hi.
Hey,
Hello.
So this is Medina. She's an amazing writer. Like I'm not.
Yeah, I could hear you.
And you know Amna.
Even sounded really good. But there's this Sheikh Dr. Yasser Qadi. He has a talk on what it's like to go through death when you're a pious person, and what it's like to go through death when you're not. And it's very, 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 very detailed. Like, it's like, oh, the angels come to you and they bring you bouquets of flowers. Like, it's actually like a 15-20 minute long description. So you guys should check it out.
Oh.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and like, you don't really get squeezed or crushed like that unless you're like a bad person. I think there's like an initial squeeze, maybe, but for like, there's basically like it sounds like it's from a fairy tale, but it's not. But it just sounds really good when you hear like the best version. And I wouldn't even recommend hearing the bad one. It's too scary. Unless you're ready for that.
Okay, Bobber.
So, for those of you who are watching, we were unable to get a portion of our prompts in. And so, if you're looking for extra prompts, follow us on Instagram at Race Karma, and we will have a special series for you available there to follow along a third bonus prompt. And also, stay tuned for Tazine and Lou next for their Hunda Sasao episode.
Yeah.